Hey guys, it's Pastor Bruce. As we continue Paul's first letter to the young pastor Timothy, chapter 2 is where Paul describes public worship in the church. He begins with prayer. We should pray for all men, but Paul singles out our leaders and says that we should join together as the church in praying for our leaders, praying about them, and being thankful that God has given us the leaders we have. I'm reminded of Paul's words in Romans 13:4. For he is God's minister to you for good. Paul equates praying for our leaders with having a quiet life. He makes the point that the Christian life is a peaceful life. It's not one that's all caught up in civil unrest and picket lines and protests. Our conduct as believers, including how we present ourselves and our views in the area of public discourse, should draw others to Jesus, not repel them. That includes what we have to say on social networking sites like Facebook or Twitter. We've got to make sure that we are not being so objectionable that people are turned off by us and won't even listen to what we have to say about Jesus, because that leads to verses 5 and 6. For there is one God and one mediator between God and men, the man Christ Jesus, who gave himself a ransom for all to be testified in due time. They've got to come to Jesus because He's the only one who can bring peace between God and man. Beginning in verse 8 is another passage that typically leads to Paul taking hits for being a chauvinist. But if you really boil it down, it comes down to the principle that men are ordained by God to be spiritual leaders at home and in the church. Maybe I'm naive, but I believe most ladies would prefer it to be that way. The reason that women have had to take leadership in church is because so few men have been willing or able, because of spiritual immaturity, to do the job. Ladies would much rather the men do it. We come to verse 15, which is somewhat confusing. Nevertheless, she will be saved in childbearing if they continue in faith, love, and holiness, with self-control. Ladies, I believe what Paul is saying here is that if you will trust the Lord's leadership, if you will trust the men whom the Lord has put in leadership of your life, God will be faithful to take care of you. God bless you as you go.